that could. But I'd like for us to start in a word of prayer. So join me in a word of prayer. God, thank you for this day. Thank you for the opportunity to come together around something fun like athletics. We thank you for the coaches. We thank you for the parents, for the kids that are willing to give this a shot. Some people are new. Some people are wondering if they're going to fit in. And we just pray that you meet those students where they are, help parents to be encouragers and coaches to be the special person that works with both and does a great job leading students and kids, students and parents through this challenge of athletics. We're thankful for the opportunity to do that together and to put you on display, hopefully in a way that's pleasing to you. In your name we pray. Amen. Okay. Keep letting people in here. So we have the chat at the bottom of your screen. If you click that chat button, it'll open up a little thing on the side where you'll be able to write questions in and things that I forget to talk about, which happens all the time. So please don't hesitate to write things in there that I can talk about. At certain points, I'll ask if you have any questions. Please feel free to to unmute yourself and ask a question if you have one. And so, yes, thank you so much for being here. We are here for soccer and baseball and softball. And so we're going to try to cover all three as we go through here. So thanks a lot. In Graham's Christian, what we're trying to do is provide an opportunity for kids to learn sports, to enjoy them more at the end of the year than they did at the start. Hopefully because they've learned a couple things, they've had some hard things happen, and they've found their way out on the other side. We know that a good experience does involve some challenges and some difficulties and some learning along the way, that everything's not going to be smooth and perfect. But we're grateful for the opportunity to use athletics to teach kids how to manage that sort of situation. So thank you so much for being here and having your child be part of it. What we're going to do next week in your sport, so in soccer, that means we're going to have 5th and 6th grades going to have 2 teams. So they're going to split those teams as equally as they can, which means that all the kids are going to go to soccer practice after school. We are blessed by the Lord to not have snow on the ground. We might have wet or we might have a little bit chilly, but we do not have snow on the ground for the first time in, I don't know, a long time. So we're going to go outside next week. And so the kids will all be outside together 3 days in a row. Coach David will send you some information on the 5th, 6th soccer start. He'll send you some information about that just so that you're aware of what to bring and all that kind of stuff. And the times will be set up in there for you too. So they'll do that, and then they'll split as equally as possible. In 7th and 8th grade soccer, we're going to have 1 team. So that team will play some 8-on-8 games in our league. I think Graciac has 1 other team, so we're going to play them once or twice. And then we're going to play against some of the other Christian schools. They play 11-on-11. So our team's going to get a whole bunch of activity. All right. They're going to play 11-on-11. They're going to play 8-on-8. They're going to play on big fields. They're going to play on smaller fields. They're going to get to learn to play the game of soccer a lot of different ways this year, and we're excited about that. So we have a nice schedule for them too. When it comes to baseball, softball, in baseball, we have 2, 5, 6 teams. We'll do an equal split as best we can. Most important, we try to split up pitchers and catchers so that we have enough of those on each team, and then we'll split from there. And then in 7th and 8th grade, we're going to have 2 teams as well. And we'll split that kind of based on schedule. We got a lot of kids that do, club baseball and that sort of thing. And so we'll try to send the schedules out when we can. And Coach Voss and Coach Vuberg are really good at working with families to make that happen. But we'll try to split them as equal as we can, again, with pitchers and catchers on each team, so that each team has some of those things. Then we try to split as equal as we can from there. I think I covered all the sports there. Yeah, I did. Softball, we're going to have, sorry, we got to talk about softball too. Softball, we're going to have like 10 or 11 7th and 8th grade girls that signed up, which is great, have their own team. We got a schedule with some of the Christian schools in the area, and then maybe 1 or 2 games against Graciac. And so that will, again, come out on your Team Snap schedule. So that's really exciting. The 5th and 6th graders will have 4 games this year against Graciac opponents within our league, which is awesome. 2 games against each of the 2 teams, so 4 games total. And really the reason for that is that at that age, when we have newer softball players, games really aren't that great. They're not that fun. It's actually a lot more fun to practice, have the ball in your hands, to be working on grounders and fly balls and hitting and playing pickle and doing all kinds of fun stuff that you get to do. And so we want to have games where we can test some of those skills in a game situation with an umpire on the field with the crowd. We don't want to have too many of those because then we start losing practice. So this way we get to have 2 practices a week and 1 game pretty much. So we'll get a lot more practice than game, which is a great thing to do developmentally. Where 7th and 8th grade will have like 2 practices and a game or 2 a week. So they'll have a little bit more full schedule. There may be a 6th grader or so, 5th or 6th grader that plays on the 7th, 8th grade team. We obviously need 9 players to play. They may need an extra player from time to time. That does not mean that every 5th and 6th grader will get to play on the 7th and 8th grade team, but some might if they're developmentally able to do so. Okay, the league always wants you to play at your grade level, but they do allow that if we need somebody at a development level to move up to help us fill out a roster, we can do that. And I think this is a great plan. Okay, my 5th grade boy, I would never want him to step on the field with 7th and 8th grade baseball players. Okay, like I would be like, what? My kid has to play 7th and 8th grade baseball? That's crazy. So the fact that the coaches are going to be wise about who they ask to bring up if they need to at all, I think is good to put in the coach's hands. So that's kind of some basics about what each sport and how they're going to be broken up as far as how many teams and that sort of thing. So the next thing on my list here is there any questions about team formation? I'll stop there for a minute. Nobody's wrote anything in the chat yet. Is there any questions about what I explained for baseball, softball, or soccer? Okay, great. So the next thing is transport to practice. So soccer, 5th and 6th grade, you're going to be on campus here. So every day after school that your team practices, you can just change in the locker room, head right out to the backfield. 7th and 8th grade, well, 5th and 6th, sometimes your team may practice late. We have one coach that needs some late practices. And so you might have a late practice. That means you have to go home, whether it's baseball, softball, or soccer. If you have the 5 o'clock practice, you have to go home. We cannot keep you here and we don't have anybody to supervise you. So it's not safe. The schools can't be liable for kids just running around. So after school, if you have a late practice, we need you to go home, then come back to the late practice. 7th and 8th grade soccer is going to walk to the Evergreen School each day. So there's a sidewalk that runs right down Burton on our side of the road. There are crossing guards at the crosswalk. So they can walk straight down by the Plymouth Heights Church there, or not Plymouth Heights Church, Burton Baptist Church. They can cross with the crossing guards to get over to IHM. Then they can walk past IHM Church to the backfield. So we will have coaches, the first day we'll have one coach walk with the whole team to demonstrate how to do it. 7th and 8th graders have done a great job with this. And just make sure that you remind your child, whether this is 7th and 8th grade baseball or 7th and 8th grade soccer, they'll walk to Evergreen for practice whenever possible. So please remind them to stay on the sidewalk on our side of Burton, to cross only at the crosswalks with the crossing guards, and to not fool around and diagonal cut across, because that's the kind of stuff that we can do so much as a school to remind them of how to do it and guide them through it, but your child still has to make the choice to do what's right. And so we need you to please encourage them to make sure that they don't do that. If they have trouble with that, we may have to have you pick them up and bring them, or they might not be able to participate at all. So please make sure that they follow the rules, follow the instructions, and reiterate with them, please. We haven't had a problem with this. We've been doing this for about 9 years now. The only problem we ever had was with 5th and 6th grade kids. I'm sure you can figure out why. So we just don't have that for 5th and 6th, and we just stick to 7th and 8th grade now. So that's kind of how we get to Evergreen for baseball. If you're a 5th and 6th baseball player, you sometimes, if you're on Mr. DeBoer's team, sometimes you'll have an after-school practice. He is going to set up a bus for you to ride from our school to Evergreen. Now, we can't send every athlete on that bus because it's way too many kids, right? But we're going to send 5th and 6th grade athletes that are on Mr. DeBoer's team only on a bus over there. So he will talk with you about that when you're on his team. There's 2 teams in 5-6 baseball. He'll send specific information to those parents so they know how to get their child. And he'll even talk to those kids at school, show him the bus, make sure they get on it every single day that they have practice before he gets in his car and goes over there. So we do have a solution for our 5-6ers. The other 5-6 baseball team is going to have 5 o'clock practice because the other coach can't practice before 5 o'clock. So that's kind of the way that's going to go. And then softball, you're at Gainey. Every practice for fifth through 8th grade is at Gainey, which means that everybody practices there, usually 5:30 to 7. The coaches will kind of set their time based on what works for them, whether it's 5 to 6:30, 5:30 to 7, or 6 to 7:30. Whatever works best for our coaches to get there at Gainey, they'll send that out to you, and you'll be on Team Snap with them, and you'll get those reminders and all that. But kids go home, and you bring them to Gainey. You are welcome to stay at Gainey. We need a little help at practice. We're going to have, close to 20 girls participating at every practice. So we need 4 adults there. We have 4 that have been willing to participate and help us out. But sometimes an extra set of hands, if you know a thing about catching a ball or not getting hit by one, you might be able to help us out. Okay. So please consider staying and helping out the coaches if they need a little help. So that's kind of transportation to practice. Any questions about that? Okay, I'm nailing it right now. No questions. All right. Practice schedules, that will come from your coach. Everybody in this group will be on a Team Snap team like you're used to. Not yet. So the first contact from you is going to come from one of the coaches at your grade level, and they're going to communicate to everyone, okay, just through a normal email. All right. Once team formation is complete and you're put on a team, you'll get invited to Team Snap. All you got to do is push that little, accept button and enter in all the contact information that you want. And then the coach will begin to communicate with you. Please ask coach questions. He or she is the first line of defense for me. I love all of you, but I can't answer all 350 athlete parent questions. Okay. So your coaches are equipped to do that. Please connect with them, ask them questions, use the chat function, whatever you need to do. If they can't answer it, they'll come to me and they'll help me out. Please communicate through there. Practice schedules will be on there. Roster will be on there. All those sorts of things will be on there. The game schedules, I will load in all the games that are from the Christian schools, and Graciac will load in the Graciac games. So you'll see all the schedules right in there, and the coaches will add the practices right to that, like you're used to, like our coaches always do. They'll also send you a weekly email throughout the season, so you'll be reminded of all the things on that schedule. As for playing time, so in softball and baseball, there is like a minimum playing time. I believe it's 2 innings and an at-bat. And so we do the best we can. Now, there's also time limits for every game. And the thing that's really challenging about like volleyball or about baseball, softball is you don't know how long an inning is going to take or how many points is going to be in a volleyball game, right? Like these are variables that we don't get to control. And so we do our best to make sure that everybody gets, at least 2 innings in the field and 1 at bat. Okay. That's possible that gets screwed up somehow because of a time limit. Like an inning goes super long and now we're just don't have as many innings to get kids in. And so that could get mixed up. I want you to understand the coaches are not trying to cause a problem with this. They also cannot control the speed of the game. And so please be gracious with this. Certainly ask a question if you have a question in a kind way to inquire about something, to partner with a coach. That's fine. If there's a situation where maybe it was only 1 inning and 1 at bat, there's probably a good explanation for why that happened and what was going on. So please understand that coaches are doing their best to make sure everybody gets what they're supposed to get. When it comes to soccer, playing time is not equal, just like in baseball, softball, it's not equal playing time. And nor does the league recommend that. I don't recommend it either. So we want everybody to have a chance to play with the best players because the best players make the machine hum a little bit better. It's a little bit more like soccer. And so we want those kids out there more. So if those kids are out there more, obviously they're going to get more playing time than others. And so we want to make sure that we understand like this is not a direct equal thing. It's not rec program anymore where everything's the same and equal. But kids will definitely get opportunities to participate. I think in the Graciac games, there's like a minimum of 15 minutes of playing time required out of the 60. We try to beat that as best we can. if your kid is showing up and doing their best. So playing time, it will not be equal in any of these sports, but we make sure that we definitely get everybody the opportunities to test their skills and be in front of the crowd and have an official or an umpire, be part of that situation and make sure they get some good reps. Coach, let me see here. Spectators. So in baseball and soccer and softball, the spectators are very close to the playing surface and often close to the official. So sometimes there's a disagreement with a ball or a strike, or there's a disagreement with a play that should have been called. And I know that it's the norm in society for us to give officials a hard time or umpires a hard time. I've been to plenty of Little League games. I've played in a lot of games and I've watched a lot of games over the years. It is my hope and my dream that that umpires and officials are excited to receive the assignment of participating with Grand Rapids Christian. Like they're like, thank goodness I get to participate and umpire a game with Grand Rapids Christian, because for once, people aren't going to give me a bunch of garbage while I'm out there. That is my dream. It is my hope. And what I want to say is, I say this in every single season to every single parent that shows up and listens. When you do that, I just want to say thank you. Just, you're kind. You put Christ on display. Most of you thank officials instead of yell at them. Many of you have come to me and said, hey, I'm having a hard time with how to manage my emotions around the officials out there. And I say, I get that, but they came to me about it instead of letting their emotions get the best of them in the moment. And I just want to say thank you. And I want to say to Grand Rapids Christian thanks you, because we're putting Christ and Grand Rapids Christian's name on display in a way that is synonymous with good and grace-filled and all the things that we want our school to be about. So please resist the temptation to be like everyone else and try to put Christ on display in a different way by just encouraging, thanking. Even if it's the worst umpire you ever seen in your life, tell them thanks for being here so we could have a game today. You'll feel better about it, and they'll feel better about it, and they'll want to come back. That's my hope. It's my dream. I know that I say this every time. Some of you are probably sick of hearing me say that, but I don't know if we can hear it enough. So thank you so much. When it comes to coaches, working with coach, we have a 5th through 12th grade, we have a philosophy that we want parents to partner with our coaches. We don't want them separate. We don't want them to dislike each other or to be on wrong sides or feel like they're against it. We want partnership. So the way that we partner is a couple of things. Number one, we want trust. I know that trust is not given, it should be earned, but it's possible that maybe what we could do is give somebody the benefit of the doubt. All right, when we give somebody the benefit of the doubt that this coach cares about the kids, they're doing their best, they're trying really hard, that there's another side to every story, it gives us a different posture, maybe a posture of open hands versus a posture of fists, right? And when we have a posture of open hands, there's an opportunity for partnership, relationship, and all of those other things. So please remember to be somebody that asks questions instead of makes statements, right? If you have a question for coach, coaches want to answer questions, but they're definitely afraid of you. I want to tell you that. Coaches, I've been a coach for 18 years. I have always been slightly afraid of parents because of the way that I've been treated by them. And I want you to know that you hold that power to create fear in somebody, right? These are people that you expect that they will treat your son or daughter with grace and patience and teach them and help them to become better in a way without losing their temper, without being mean, any of those things. You want them to be patient. And so what I ask of you parents is the same. A lot of these coaches are people that are new to coaching and they want to explore it. They want to see if they can help kids. They want to see if they can make a difference in kids' lives. And I just encourage you that if you want them to explain patience and grace and kindness to your kids, may you please do the same to them, right? Give them your patience, give them your grace, give them your kindness so that they have a chance to grow just like we expect our kids to grow under their leadership. And so please make sure that you partner by giving benefit of the doubt and by providing the same sort of temperament to them that you would expect them to give to your child, okay? And if others come to you about coach, my favorite line is, have you talked to coach about that? Take that stuff to the source, right? It's biblical, we know that. When we talk around people, we spread bad things about somebody. That's maybe not fair because that coach doesn't even know those things are being said and their reputation is already being broken. And so if you've got something to ask coach about, go and ask him in a polite, kind way. Don't talk to everybody else about it. And if somebody does come to you with that, my encouragement is just to say, hey, I hear you. Did you get a chance to talk to coach? What'd they say about that? Just kind of redirect them back to the two-chair conversation, two people there. But thank you so much. You guys have done an incredible job. I say all of this because I want to say it and I want our culture to reflect these things. But I also want to say to you, thank you. This is our 4th season of the year. And our parents have been absolutely fantastic with our coaches, right? I don't say this to be like doom and gloom. I say this because it's important for us to keep talking about it because it's not the norm of society. But I want you all to know our coaches are blessed by you. They really are. And you've tried hard. Sometimes you bite your tongue. Sometimes you deal with something that maybe you wanted to talk about. But I'm going to tell you something. They feel blessed by you. I get to meet with every single one of them after every year, and I ask them about the parents. How were you treated by our parents? And this year, I can tell you that every single one of them so far has said, the parents have been great. And I want to thank you for that, right? Like I want everybody to know, like that is super important to me. It's important to our school. It's important to our culture. It's important that your kids see you treating those adults well. It's just so important in the society that we're in. So thank you so much for doing that. That's the main information that I have for you today. I'm excited for the season. We're going to get started with all 3 of these sports next week. Your coach will be sending you an email with how to get started. What are your times? What do you need to bring? You know, who they are, all that stuff. And that will be coming out to you probably on Thursday, Friday, or Saturday, depending on how much time your coach has in the next couple of days. So that's when your communication's coming. Does anybody have a question to type in the chat or anything I can answer for you in person before I let you go? Okay. Well, if you want to stay on, it says, is baseball starting outdoors or just soccer? That will be up to the coaches. It's a great question. A lot of times the coaches will maybe want to start in the gym so they get to understand who the people are. It's a little bit more controlled environment. Even if it's nice out, they might do that just to get to know everybody and see. They can just control it a little bit better. The kids aren't like, you know, squirrel and looking around everywhere. They're just kind of like focused in. So that will be up to the coaching staff at your grade level, how they handle that. But a very good question. And that will be clear in the email what to expect. Okay. And also in your email for baseball and softball will be, if we're outside on Monday, we'll be at this time. If we're inside on Monday, we'll be at this time. So you might have an indoor and outdoor time. So pay close attention, and they might not be the same. I try to make them the same, but it's possible sometimes they aren't. So please pay close attention to those details for, depending on the weather, what time you'll be practicing so you can plan your week. Okay. Thank you for that question, Kev. Anybody else? Okay. Well, hey, my goal was to get you out of here by 7, and you're out of here at 6:50. Oh, wait a minute. I got another question. 7th and 8th grade baseball, always after school. Good question. One of the teams will likely always be after school. One of the teams, because of the coach's job and responsibilities, could be a 5 or could be a 3. So it will largely depend on, you know, the day that they're practicing and that person's schedule. They have a little bit of a flexible schedule. So, but likely most practices will be after school, but some may be late. The games are always a little later, in case you don't remember that. They're kind of 5:30 or 6:45 starts. So you'll be out of here before 7, still 6:55. Got you out early. It always feels good to get out early. All right. If you remember a student being in a class and teacher let you out early, man, does it feel like $1 million. So, hey, enjoy it. All right. And thank you very much. Have a great night.